Today, we're counting down 10 tracks that sound absolutely nothing like the artists behind them. First, Paul McCartney, Temporary Secretary, 1980. The man behind Let It Be, and Maybe I'm Amazed, decided to include this on his solo album, McCartney 2, a twitchy, synth-driven experiment that sounds like a malfunctioning fax machine and a children's cartoon colliding in an elevator. It's manic, mechanical, and almost hostile to melody, like craft work after a pot of coffee and an identity crisis. Some call it unlistenable, others genius. Second, George Harrison, Electronic Sound, 1969. Yes, the Quiet Beatle released a full-blown avant-garde electronic album. Before most people even knew what a synthesizer was. Built on recordings of a Moog modular system, some of which were controversially taped without the performer's consent. The album has no traditional structure, just two sprawling tracks of bubbling, gurgling chaos. No vocals, no hooks, no Here Comes the Sun. This is George going full Stockhausen, released on the Beatles' short-lived experimental label, Zapple, years ahead of ambient or noise music gaining any kind of mainstream foothold. 3. Joni Mitchell, The Jungle Line, 1975. Forget gentle guitars and poetic reflections. On the hissing of summer lawns, Joni drops a bomb.
Rousseau walks on trumpet pads.
Layered Burundi drums, analog synths, and surreal lyrics referencing Henri Rousseau's jungle paintings. It's proto-world beat, proto-electronica, and decades ahead of its time. The song's raw, tribal rhythm and eerie textures feel less like Laurel Canyon and more like a fever dream in an art gallery. 4. Paul Simon, Cars Are Cars.
Cars are cars all over the world.
1986. From Graceland, an album packed with South African grooves and rich cultural fusion, comes this, a dry, plodding tune about how cars are the same everywhere. The robotic drum machine, bland synth pads, and monotone vocals make it sound like a parody of American normalcy. It's minimalist, intentionally flavorless, and strangely unsettling in context. Was he trolling us? 5. James Taylor, Slap Leather.
Take all the money that we need for school and to keep us.
That opens with twangy riffs and spoken word verses aimed squarely at American culture and politics. The arrangement leans into country influences, with a driving rhythm and dry humor. First performed at Earth Day 1990 and later released on New Moon Shine, it shows a rarely seen side of Taylor. Pointed, ironic, and sharply tuned to the socio-political climate of the early 90s. 6. Carly Simon, Why? 1982. Produced by the legendary Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards of Chic for the soundtrack to Suit for One, this reggae disco hybrid sounds like it fell straight off a Compass Point Sessions reel. Carly's smoky voice floats over a bouncing bass line, synthetic horns, and dubbed out effects. It became a surprise UK club hit, despite sounding absolutely nothing like anything she'd ever done before or after. It's pure dance floor magic from the queen of confessional pop. 7. Cat Stevens, Was Dog a Donut? 1977. This track sounds more like Kraftwerk or Herbie Hancock than Peace Train. With its stuttering drum machines and bizarre philosophical title, it's hard to believe this came from the man who once soundtracked every sensitive soul's first breakup. It's cold, clinical, and oddly funky, an electro-funk outlier that confused everyone in 1977 and still does. 8. Carole King, Discotheque, 1979. Yes, even the mother of the singer-songwriter movement took a swing at disco, and it's not subtle. Discotheque is a flashy, glittery romp with synth stabs, a pounding 4-on-the-floor beat, and lyrics about boogieing at the discotheque. It's almost like watching your aunt show up at Studio 54 in sequence. Baffling, yes, but also kind of infectious. Likely an unreleased demo or shelved track. It surfaced years later as a disco oddity. 9. Neil Young, Transformer Man. 1982. Known for raw guitar epics and folk ballads, Neil suddenly shows up with vocoders, electronic drums, and digital alienation. The voice is robotic, the lyrics emotional, written for his son with cerebral palsy, who struggled with verbal communication. It's a heartbreaking ballad filtered through wires and static. Totally unexpected, totally misunderstood, and maybe his most human moment. 10. Joan Baez, Time Rag.
Ripping along towards middle age and my music career kind of missed.
1977. Known for her crystalline voice and protest ballads, Joan here goes full spoken word satire. Over jazzy piano and dramatic flourishes, she riffs on the absurdity of media interviews, name drops Bob Dylan, and skewers her own public image. It's theatrical, biting, and oddly modern, like a slam poem before slam poetry existed. Released on Blowin' Away, it's an overlooked gem of self-aware weirdness. If you enjoyed this journey through musical whiplash, don't forget to like, subscribe, and fall deeper down the rabbit hole in the description. What's the weirdest track by a normal artist you've ever heard? Drop it in the comments.